Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this fifth video with 5 keys, the quintessence in a certain extent for a very interesting and even fascinating topic, which is the living, the will at the origin of all existence. Well, what is the living? The living, concretely, this is a progressive way of formulating the verb, the living, which means literally who is living, okay, who lives, okay. This is a way, an indirect way to talk about God. Because, to be frank with you, the divinity or God is a kind of taboo concept. And nowadays, especially with a lot of interpretation, this is systematically, it can be oriented and so on. And that's why lots of people use this way, which is the living. For me, it's also important because the living literally shows that it is present everywhere, through everything, and each individual people, each component. So for me, it's really a beautiful, poetic way to talk about God, for which there is many ways to talk about it. The source, the soul of the word, the Akasha, Brahma. Let's say Akasha is another story, but we can consider the Tao, the unified fields, the particle of God for the X particle in science, the great all, okay, all this kind of let's say different terms for talking about the same thing, and even the absence of word, because for instance the Jews, they cannot talk about, normally they cannot name gods. This is quote-mark forbidden. That's why sometimes we see YHWH, which is literally Yahweh. It's the same principle for Muslim, who has 99 names of God plus an extra one, 100 in total, which is hidden. And according to the Sufi legends, this is hidden within each individual people. So it's completely personal. And why not giving a name? Because it's based on the principle of what the Danish philosopher Kierkegaard say: giving a name is annihilating all the potential I could be. Concretely, this is this point. God is the form and the formless, okay? The beginning and the ends, the empty and the fullness, the emptiness and the fullness. So literally, it is everything and nothing, which is really difficult and delicate to understand, because basically a human body cannot integrate this globality, this infinity. We are finite human beings. It's impossible to think about infinity. Each time you try to do it, even for space-time, you will push back the limits of the cosmos until a moment you will say, oh, but there is a beginning and necessarily an end. And it's absolutely, don't try to do it. You will lose time and your mind, because it's absolutely impossible. And for you to compare, it would be like trying to put the whole ocean, okay, all the water from all the ocean on Earth in a single glass. What would be, at the end, the result would be a deluge or a floods. Okay, so it's the same. And that's why also he created, probably the creator created so many characters as we are. We are embodying a single character, probably to share this, let's say, unconditional love and the consciousness. Otherwise, a single man or woman would have never be able and capable to gather all this powerful and will, actually. This is a very important point. The notion, the living, implies the notion of action and movements, as we saw for the Tao. Tao is another name also for the world, God, in a certain extent. It is a movement. It's not fixed, because there is a dynamic through that. And actually, it implies a will, not a will, W-H-E-E-L, but more will, W-I-L-L. What does it mean? As soon as you have an enterprise, let's say an organization, a charity association, a company, a project, even a relationship in between two people for love or for even friendship, necessarily it requires a will. And by the way, the proof is that it doesn't work if in a couple one of them is not motivated or is not invest as much as the other one. Okay, it requires a mutual will. It's the same for a nation. The definition of a nation is the sum of the roles, administrative and so on, of a country, and at the end, the desire, the will to live together. And this is the cement of a nation, and it's the same for all type of life in general. What I try to tell you here is this: through the growth of a plant, of a flower, of a tree, of the herb, of nature in general, there is a will. And this is absolutely fascinating to see, to admire, to visualize, to observe nature according to this spectrum of observation and admiration. Actually, the more you seek, the more you find. And by the way, this is what is written in the Bible. And it's true, because even on the scientist perspective, if you analyze, for instance, nature, biology, astronomy, botany, whatever, it is difficult not to believe anymore. I give you different examples, but even just the basic states of the cosmos. The cosmos, literally in Greek, means the order. Okay, the order implies the fact that it has been, let's say, there is an orchestration, and is not the human hands. Okay, so there is a will hidden, and by the way, it is just the combination of four forces, main ones: gravity, electromagnetism, weak and strong nuclear force. There's four ones. Because they are well balanced, life is possible. And imagine even the probability to have the life possible on Earth is a kind of miracle, because we could have been burned or frozen. Okay, we wouldn't be there to see or to say and so on. Well, this is once again very, like a comparison could be, I'm gonna take three analogies, would be to put a bomb in a printing house, and the results would be an amazing library organized with a structure of incredible books creating from this bomb, okay, with some different departments organized with alphabet order. Okay, so it's exactly the same principle. Another example, the fact that life is possible in terms of probability for you to visualize how small it is, concretely, is like shooting a target not bigger than 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, so imagine how big it is, from 14 billion light years. So it's an incredible distance, and we shoot and bam, precise, bam, we get it. Okay, so another analogy would be to put some different components of a plane, okay, and that we spread over thousands and thousands of kilometers, and after a tornado, we would obtain an amazing plane. Okay, so two options. Either, let's say, the hazard, let's say the potential of, let's say, the chance is extremely precise, or second option, very lucky. You will understand the fact that actually the more you learn, the more difficult it is not to attest or recognize a certain hidden, let's say, divine fingerprints. This is really interesting. Well, that's why the great scientist Max Planck, who is the father of quantum mechanics and physics prize Nobel in 1918. So he say the following: all matters come from a force and exist only through it. We must assume the existence through this force of an intelligent and conscious spirit. This spirit is the matrix of all matter. So he say, okay, I do agree, we must assume. Okay, its assumption is not 100% sure, but one of the greatest scientists of the planets, okay, say that we should maybe assume about a conscious and intelligent spirits, a will. This is exactly what he tried to say, and it's quite concerning because it can destabilize actually the establishment, the scientist establishments, because even this word is even worse, is very taboo for scientists, the word consciousness, because they don't know exactly. Soul and consciousness for a scientist is extremely, I mean, the old science probably, the modern science with new paradigm, with new perspective, will reach probably a certain opening soon. Well, the living implies as well the physics and thereby the metaphysics, okay? Because as we saw, duality, if there is light, necessarily there is the contrary, that's to say, the darkness. So metaphysics is the consequences of the physics. And the proof is that the physical world, as we have it, is based on 4% of real, tangible, quote mark, matter, okay? Visible matter. And then 27% is made of dark matter that we cannot see with our eyes. And then 67% is made of dark energy. So concretely, the result is, as a human beings, we can potentially only see 4% of our reality. And even amongst that is absolutely not this, because we cannot see the extreme, that's to say, the radar, the infraviolets, the infrared and ultraviolets. So we can just see in between 400 and maximum 800 Hertz, okay? And beyond that, we cannot see this, the spectrum. And even worse, we cannot see the Wi-Fi, the radar, the radio, let's say, frequencies, okay? So we are completely observing reality through a keyhole, and even our physics. So imagine the metaphysics is even worse. Well, the notion of omnipresence and omniscience is absolutely concerning and derooting, because actually it is really difficult to realize with real eyes that this is endless, this is limitless. And actually, this is exactly what I try to explain to you with this notion of painter. God, the divinity, is the painter and the painting, and the different characters are a part of us. Okay, so concretely, we embody one fragment of this wall, this divinity. Okay, but we have to reactivate it. Okay, concretely, we are animated through this will, through this force. Anima means the divine anima. Okay, in Latin means the divine soul. So this is interesting to analyze like this. But I like the notion not to fragment the living only through religious, let's say, institutions. That's why I like the quotes of of Tabriz, who is a great Sufi, who say the following: you can study God through anything and anyone in the universe, because God is not confined to a mosque or a synagogue or a church. But if you still want to know um, where He is, it is deep inside the sincere heart of the true believer. And this is extremely important, because this is exactly what I try to tell you regarding the concept of holy style of life, which is holy, sacred, concretely. It is spiritual, coming from the spirits, spiritus in Latin. It means the spirit. It means that literally, when you are a believer in Code Amerique, you are supposed to see the lights through everything and in everything, within everything. And this is absolutely fascinating. And this is a way that most of the people, when they are in a process of awakening, which is endless once again, they can feel this notion of the living through themselves and through other people and so on. And actually, this is interesting to perceive, which is sometimes too big or infinite. And this is so everywhere, so omniscient, omnipresent, that some people forget, because they think, okay, so I don't see anything. Okay, but actually this is a pure, let's say, it's private in a certain extent. But what is interesting is the own perception and also the proximity we have through this living. I remember when I was young, I was considering the fact that I could not understand how come we could represent a kind of old man, capricious in his clouds, observing us with almost a weapon and with a notion of punishment and so on. For me, I was really thinking that, okay, I try my best to be a good person, a good kid. If I do a mistake, I ask for apologize, or I improve myself and so on. And my relationship was absolutely different, because I was not like a kid and parents. I was just trying to make him proud, and just to have a certain collaboration, and not this notion of I'm expecting a reward hereafter, or ends just to avoid the punishments. And for me, it was exactly like learning at school. I was not doing for my parents, I was doing for the pleasure to learn and to enlarge my consciousness and so on. But what I like in this idea is the mirroring, the mirror effects with the infinite reflection of the consciousness, the conscious spirit that we call the living. And once again, the great Sufi Sham Tabriz said, the way you see God is a different reflection of how you see yourself. If God mostly brings fear and reproach to the mind, it means that there is too much fear and guilt in us. If you see God full of love and compassion, this is how we are. And this is for me very, very important. This sentence vibrates within myself, my true self, because I really feel exactly the same. For me, I feel God full of love. And personally, hell for me is not outside, is inside. As long as I'm positive, I'm peaceful, I'm gentle, I'm nice with people, I'm in paradise. And actually, life is giving me back. And on the other way around, when I decide to be in hell, and I decide to be in the anger and in the fight, in the competition, people give me back as well. So it's like reciprocity and boomerang effects. And the universe is concretely satisfying you all the time you believe that God is punisher, He is for you. And if you believe is love, He will be love for you. It's just like, Aladdin, the genie in the bottle. It just um, it just make your dreams come true. It doesn't observe, analyze if it's good or bad, because this is human subjective concept. So concretely, this is important, according to me and my perception, to be in peace with the concept of the living. Well, now what is interesting is to analyze the space that we give to, let's say, the living in the daily life, and the space we give him, and the frontier we give to him. So, if I had to conclude in a certain extent, I would say that the living one corresponds to the breath of life. He embodies, he manifests the will or the conscious mind which animates all types of existence and all forms of life, from the micro to the macrocosm. Well, in terms of practice, what I invite you to do is to observe the simple things of your daily life, and to try to admire the hand, or let's say the divine fingerprint, and in the nature, in every types of organization. It can be from the climates, from the growth of rice, can be from a tree, from a baby, from any types of things. Try to see the results, and by watching a documentary from BBC or whatever, Discovery Channel, and you will say, wow, when you have this, it's well done. And this is the recognition of the living. And this is the first steps, because we will see in another video, this is the first step, the recognition, and more to be familiar with that, because then the second step of this is not only to recognize and to be grateful for this, which is a very important path, but in addition is to vibrate, to synchronize your vibrations through it, is another level. We will see this later. But, well, I invite you once again to meditate on that, on this video, to watch it several times, to write some notes, to try to reformulate, to rephrase, and I invite you, I recommend warmly, to discuss, to share with some friends, some relatives among your network, and especially to try to reformulate with your words, to see, to visualize if you understood properly, or at least if you need some more exploration, because once again, this is just a short vision. It requires, this is just a springboard for you to, this is just a discovery part, and for you, this is an invitation to deepen by your own. That's obvious, okay? Because this is just a single key, and then for helping you to shape step by step your master key, and then to open up the doors that you want, because it's really up to you to open up the doors of the universe within you. This is, for me, extremely important. This is paramount, and once again, one key, but all the roads lead to Rome and to home. Thank you for your attention, and see you soon.